Sir, thank you so much for taking time out of the busy Catalysing Social Impact Forum to speak with me. I was very inspired by some of the words and the challenges you threw out to the group of entrepreneurs, corporates, people from the government, the communities and practitioners on the ground. And really like for you to give that to us again for those of us who weren't able to be at the forum and hear your challenge.
Okay. The basic point I wanted to make was there's no developed country without an elected local government. And in India, rural areas have bulk of the problems and we have Gram Panchayats. Mm-hmm. But maybe 70-80% of India, they are quite weak. Mm-hmm. They have some functions, but nobody really cares about them. There is no discourse on Gram Panchayats. Even among politicians, media, academia, judiciary. But what's, I wouldn't call it distressing, but slightly dampening is even the civil society and NGOs who are trying to make things happen, they ignore Gram Panchayats. Since they are constitutional entities, closest to the people.
Why do you think they ignore it? What
maybe I think it's ignorance, ignoring out of ignorance.
Okay.
And they have a lot of myths and fears about Gram Panchayats.
Okay.
They equate it with the traditional caste panchayats.
Right.
And we have a lot of misconceptions. They are very corrupt, casteist, communal, feudal, and all kinds of negative impressions we have. So we don't work with local governments. And in India, local governments have about 30 lakh representatives. The rural local government, the Gram Panchayats. And out of which about 14 lakh are women. So there's wealth of representative democracy there. And we can latch on to any Gram Panchayat or a group of Gram Panchayats or a district and make things happen. And here I see a great possibility of a link with self-help groups. They are totally different. One is a people's group, other is a local government. One is social democracy, the other is political democracy.
Right.
The one is called communicative democracy, the other is representative democracy or deliberative democracy. If the two can meet, not one under the other, as equal partners, speak to each other, or just to know what the other is doing. One of the deficiencies of Panchayat is the people's demand may not reach or may not be expressed very strongly.
Right.
So if, I think in most poor parts of India, about 60% of the people are under the SHG movement. In most parts of India, particularly the poorer parts of India. If they could collectively engage with the Panchayat, then it strengthens democracy and it also opens up resources which are with the Panchayats. And Panchayats, particularly in central India, they don't have enough staff. So many functions they can outsource to the SHGs, to community resource persons on payment.
Not self-help groups.
The self-help groups. On payment, not adding to their burden, not adding to their burden, which we are all very critical about and should be critical about. So it's a huge thing waiting to happen. That if they can work together, both will gain. There are some risks which we should be wary about, and you can't have a pan-Indian solution. It is contextual, sometimes even contextual within a state and even within a district.
So I want to steer you to my favorite subject, which is about universal health coverage. And really, health coverage is not universal. There are people that are left out. Do you think if the two kinds of governance meet, that's a channel for universal health coverage? Do you think those that are excluded can be included?
Yes, I can take the example of Kerala, which initially we stagnated after great achievements in healthcare, but over the last 5-10 years there has been quantum improvement, real improvement, genuine improvement, which is being felt, and of course reflected in all the indices which you see all over. Their primary healthcare was handed over to the Gram Panchayats and the municipalities and corporations in '96. What has happened is infrastructure has really improved. Then responsiveness has improved because people go and demand. And initially doctors were very scared about a politician because Kerala has political Gram Panchayats and trying to bring in other things. By and large, the fears have proved untrue. So it's working. And then tagging on the self-help group, there's greater potential. Parts of Kerala tried with a concept called a community resource person for health. Each self-help group has one specialist in health. And if you can use that...
How did that work out?
That worked out quite well. It was started in Malappuram in the 90s, even before Kudumbashree was formally inaugurated. That worked wonders in Malappuram.
Is that something that could scale across the
country? It could be scaled across. You train a person, it's now called community resource person in SHG parlance. you train them properly, even
What are they trained on?
trained on basics of health, when the vaccination is sweet,
Right.
educating the mother on nutrition,
So prevention,
on
public
prevention
health.
kind of thing. That is basically extension. And then if there is a disease, they can communicate to the health system.
Fabulous.
And it's easily doable, very easily doable, and not much of a burden because SHG has some 10, 15 members.
So before I let you go, I'm going to be very selfish here and ask you. A lot of solutions are being thought about and pitched at this forum. And there have been solutions that have come before. But not many of them are sustained. They are good solutions, they work for a while. They're great solutions but work only with a particular community, can't be adapted or scaled. But you have been at the helm of one of the most sustained women empowerment program, Kudumbashree. Give us some secrets to that success.
One, in government, very little is based on evidence. It's based on the heart.
Okay.
As somebody was saying, it's serendipity. So, a lot of talk about evidence-based policy and all that. If somebody has a good heart, some politician has a good heart, and then a committed civil servant, things are put together. But something we learned in Kudumbashree, you really have to develop a model, a viable model, which is contextual.
Right.
And that takes some time. Mm-hmm. You can't suddenly say, theoretically bring an SHG group. We called it neighbourhood group, different from rest of India.
Right.
Why the focus is on, that's a concept.
Right.
That's an ideology of Kerala. So you said it's a neighbour group, it's a social group first, then an economic group. So it's a neighbourhood group which is formulated. So that conceptualization was very important. Second is, we experimented with it for quite some time. In the urban context first, in the rural context first. So we knew what works and what doesn't work. So system was developed. That again is evidence-based. But another important thing, I've been seeing it all over India when I went to Delhi, is the quality, not only quality of the CEO of the livelihood mission, but more than that, tenure. So if you do an empirical analysis, one factor which comes out is a committed CEO had a reasonable tenure.
Right.
And because he or she will be able to understand the whole thing, will have a relationship down the line, the SHGs recognize the CEO as their mentor, their mission leader, and that kind of thing works.
So passion, heart,
Yes.
champions.
Sometimes I say, think with your heart and feel with your brain.
Wow. Thank you so much. It's been
Welcome.
an honor speaking to you.
No,
And
I enjoyed it.
privilege
I
that
enjoyed the
could
whole.
pull you out.
I enjoyed the whole CSI.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.